Saw is known as a really bloody, gratuitous movie franchise. But weirdly enough, it did not start out that way. The original Saw, surprisingly enough, isn't very gory after a quick rewatch. It was directed and written by James Wan and Lee Winnell. Lee Winnell also starring in the movie as one of the main characters, Adam. He and Dr. Lawrence Gordon, played by Carrie Elwes, I hope I said that right, are locked in a bathroom, their ankles connected to the walls, and they have to figure out how they got there and, of course, how they're going to escape. So the plot of this movie is fairly interesting premise. There is a serial killer who puts people in traps that you can technically survive for various reasons, and he sees it as helping them rehabilitate from a tragedy or them just being lazy. But even then, he's kind of hypocritical in this movie, especially with the wax candle trap where he has to walk on glass, and if he gets the candle too close to him, it'll light on fire. For missing a day of work, that's stupid. It was stupid then, it's still stupid. Or the guy in Barbed Wire who was what did he do? I think he was a smoker. I think that's it. Yeah. But this movie does handle its plot pretty well. I like how this movie isn't a lot of gore or torture. This is just a lot of like character building. You get to know the characters of Adam and Gordon by the end of it. You can see their frustrations. I think most of the acting in this movie is pretty good, with the exception of Lee Winnell. He's kind of bad, especially in the dialogue-heavy scenes. But other than that, I thought this movie was pretty dang good overall. Now, there are some problems with it. I thought, for the most part, for the budget they had, the special effects were good, especially for 2004, without like overusing CG. It looked really good for the time. Everything looked kind of grimy, which I really like the look of personally. Other good elements of the story, the ending is amazing, I think. The twist of Zepp not being the killer on my first watch actually surprised me. And then Jigsaw, I already unfortunately knew that Jigsaw was the dead body in the middle and he shot it, but I thought Zepp was one of his apprentices rather than a victim himself. Obviously, the reverse bear trap, one of the most iconic traps of the entire series, is in this movie, even though it's not used until part 7. Yeah, it's not used until part 7, but it makes its first appearance in this movie, as well as Billy the Puppet, who strikes in after Amanda escapes her trap. Amanda will be important later for some reason. Danny Glover's in this movie. He's a detective. He's hunting down Jigsaw. And it's weird that he's the only one that, well, it's not weird. Obviously, they're not going to get Danny Glover again. But he only appeared in this movie, and he, according to the video game, at least, he does not die in this movie. Even though he does get his throat slit and shot, he survives. But then there are some bad things. The editing specifically is something I noticed. It's extremely choppy at points. When they were filming the car chase between the detective and Zepp, you could tell that they were just messing with the background, and it didn't look like they were actually driving anywhere. It looked really bad. The acting was mostly good, but there were a few not great performances in it. But what are you going to do? It was a movie that did not have a high budget, but was extremely successful. Overall, though, this is a very solid start to a series. And yeah, there are some problems with it, but for what it was at the time, and even now, when you see the rest of the series be so like brutally violent and just crazy insanity, seeing just a nice smaller scale in the grand scheme of things story about a horror movie is actually really entertaining. It's very dialogue heavy, but that's okay as long as, because I don't feel any of the dialogue is that boring. But overall, I'd give this movie a solid 7 out of 10. I thought